Hi everyone. As Father Patrick said, my name is Liam Daly. I'm 22 from Mallow, County Cork. I've had a hunger for truth for my life, for the deeper meaning of things, the real meaning. Was there meaning to life? Was there meaning to my life? Is there a right way to live? Growing up, I had a little bit of faith, not much. It wasn't particularly cultivated. I went to Mass most Sundays, often late, and would sit in the back. We never spoke about the faith at home, but I did receive the sacraments. I had a nana who was a very strong Catholic. I looked up to her, but she lived it in a very dignified manner, so I did have respect for the faith, but I didn't deploy it in any way to my own life. I went to boarding school when I got older, and it was just outside Cork City, and it was a mixed boarding school, so the girls lived down the hill. So I soon replaced my love of God with love of women. Now at this stage of my life, I was a fairly chubby lad, right up to about fourth year. So I had to work a lot harder. But I put in the groundwork, put in the hours, and I went to discos and things like that, and worked my way up as best I could, even though my other friends were probably a bit more appealing than I was. But sure, listen, by the time I finished fourth year, I had lost a lot of my baby fat, and some girls I was particularly fond of started to say nice things about me, which gave me a huge confidence booster. Eventually, however, while I still loved the women, I found that I was fairly fed up with my worldly lifestyle, and I was fed up with my bad reputation in school, and I decided to step up in life. Like my brothers, who were doing very well in college, especially my oldest brother, who had received a scholarship to Notre Dame. So I started learning from them quite a lot. He was sending me business books and things like that to learn from. And it was my first introductions to learning principles to succeed in life. So these strategies were my first exposure to deeper principles, and I eventually developed a real hunger for deeper truth and truth in general. After fourth year, I moved to Belgium, and I lived with my father for 2 years in Brussels. I was fortunate enough because we had an excellent philosophy teacher who actually taught at Harvard, but somehow ended up teaching at our school. Although I had been quite an average student, I spent a lot of time talking to him, even during lunchtime, just about different topics, and was constantly blown away by the beauty of his answers and the depth he would go in an understandable manner. I was introduced to the Greek philosophers, and he was kind of talking about politics, which I was very much into at the time. But he introduced me also to he started talking about things like wisdom and virtue and living a good life, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. I was truly in love with philosophy and practical wisdom, and my thirst for truth became almost unquenchable. So I wanted to live the good life. I wanted to live a virtuous life, and I found that what the world offers in comparison is superficial and empty, and the immortal phrase by the father of philosophy, Aristotle, or I think it was Socrates actually, I think I wrote that wrong, sorry. Socrates. The unexamined life is not worth living, and that resonated with me profoundly. So eventually I returned back to Ireland, a different man. I was in love with the virtuous life, and I wanted to build my life around cultivating it. I now love to learn, and I was no longer a poor student. I still wasn't a top student, and I found that attaining the virtues was a slow process and a very difficult one. almost impossible to master, but I was very much still in love with it. Eventually I got accepted to UL and took law and accounting, and I found the law side particularly interesting, and I managed to become the secretary of the Law Society. So I was spending a lot of time with very intelligent and capable students, and I was mingling with Ireland's top law firms, so I was all happy with that. When I was in college, I lived a fairly superficial lifestyle, but I did become very close to a girl, and I will call her Ruth. She was a born-again Christian, and she was very capable, and she powerfully slammed the Catholic Church, which I had neither the ability or desire to defend at the time. And it didn't help that I was very attracted to her. So I had a powerful experience one time at Christmas Mass in my second year of college. This experience led me to develop a huge hunger for the Bible. She was very capable at teaching me and citing scripture, and she applied it to her daily life. And she was the only person I knew in college who was actually on fire for the Lord. So while I was impressed by her and was spending a ton of time talking to her about the Lord, I was still restless and confused to why I was desiring to go to Mass. Again, even though I too developed a strong aversion to the Catholic Church. After forgetting to reset my clock one time, I missed my work shift at Costa Coffee as a barista. I make good coffees occasionally. I took the opportunity to go down to Mass. The sermon was on the prodigal son, led by Father Sean Corkery, and I had a really strong desire to talk to him. He was busy greeting the parishioners or whatever, so at that time as well, my nana's anniversary is coming up, so I lit a few candles in memory of her, and Father Sean Corkery actually came up and approached me, and he told me his testimony, and he invited me to Fireside with Fathers, which is what is it again? How do you phrase it? It's like a meeting up, a retreat for young men. I have it here somewhere. Yeah, just a retreat for young men where like they play soccer and have pizza and discuss the faith. So Father Sean brought me up one time and he gave me the wrong date. So I was alone with the priests, with no other people there. And basically they told me their testimony. I was very impressed by them. They were really really solid lads, and their testimony really resonated with me. So they invited me then to a Youth 2000 retreat in Monaghan the following Friday. So even though I didn't know what it was, and I knew I would be busy, I said yes, and I had a strong desire to make it happen. That Friday though, due to college exams and spending time with Ruth and having work in Costa the next day, it was actually my last day of work because my exams are coming up. I felt I wasn't going to be able to make it, and when it's 4 p.m, the time of departure, I had no hope of getting back in time, so I rang up to let them know. But they said, here, listen, we'll wait for you. And at that time as well, my aunt just gave me a call saying, I'm leaving from Limerick now. She's also my godmother. Hi, Del. But she gave me a spin back anyway, and we went up, and we made it in Monaghan probably at about 11:30. You know, they were really angry with me, like the lads in the car, for being so late. But sure, listen, we got there in the end. This was my first U2000. I spent the weekend with other young people who are also solid, impressive, and enthusiastic about their faith. I spent hours in front of the tabernacle, and I found a lot of my prayers were being answered. And I felt a new world was being opened up for me. I felt the Lord calling me to something big, and I felt I was being filled in a deep way. After I passed my second year, I was completely immersed in the faith and felt very attracted by Mass, adoration, and the Rosary, and wanted to commit more fully to the Lord. Me and a group of 11 other young Catholic men went on a pilgrimage from France through Spain with the Home of the Mother. That experience was huge for me, and it deepened my faith, and I had an even stronger desire to commit even more to the Lord. I ended up staying in Spain for a year with the Home of the Mother, and to be able to spend a year with virtuous men and women who sincerely loved the Lord had changed me and left a huge impression on me. I eventually decided I didn't have a vocation with the Home of the Mother as a priest, and I went exploring many different Catholic communities. I eventually discovered the Holy Family Mission through multiple people I respected, including my spiritual director. After a few months, I decided to send in an application, and after an interview, I was accepted. I'm very happy to be able to give a year to the Lord here, and I'm deeply grateful for the daily Mass, Rosary, Catechism, community life, and personal formation that we receive here. All my life, I've been looking for truth. It has taken some time, but I have discovered that only Jesus satisfies. He is, after all, the way, the truth, and the life. Thank you all for listening to my testimony and helping young people to discover the truth of our faith. God bless.